Hi, this is Diane Lovetobake on YouTube, and what we're going to make are old-fashioned chocolate sugar cookies. Now, you can garnish them with regular granulated sugar or use your crystal or color crystals, that sugar that you like to decorate on cookies or for holidays, occasions, that kind of thing. This is a great tasting cookie because it's between chewy and yet crisp. You can make them on the thinner side, which they bake much quicker that way, or the way that I make them, and you have the best of both worlds. You've got that crispiness, but you've got that chewy, great chocolate flavored cookie. So let's get started. Now I'm going to give you the recipe as I go along, so if you want to grab a pencil or a pen and paper, because I no longer put the recipe below the video, so hopefully I'll go through slowly enough and clearly enough that you'll be able to jot down the recipe, the ingredients, so that you can give this recipe a try. So let's get started. First, we're going to start off with 1 stick of butter. Okay, I went ahead and I cut it into small pieces because I think it's much quicker that way to cream it and break it up. So that's 1 stick of butter. And then I'm going to turn my mixer on just to start creaming that and breaking it. But I'm going to warn you about the sound in case you want to adjust the sound. Now, you certainly can make these cookies by hand, or you can use them on your hand mixer. I'm using my stand because it's a lot quicker and easier for the video. The next thing that I'm going to put in is vanilla, and you're going to need 1/2 teaspoon of that into the butter, into the the 1 stick of butter. The next thing that you're going to be putting in is granulated sugar, and you need 1 cup of granulated sugar, and just cream those together. Now, they'll probably take you a couple minutes, but I'm going to move it along due to the video, and again, warn you about the sound. I just want to kind of get to the bottom of my mixing bowl and the sides where it tends to stick down there. Okay. All right, the next thing that you're going to be putting in is 1 egg. If you've got large eggs, that's great. The medium will work fine too, but a large would be the best. And I've had it at room temperature, so I'm just going to put that in there and beat that in. Okay, and now for the chocolate. You're going to need 2 ounces of unsweetened chocolate. Now, you can buy it already, it is already melted for you, or you buy it in sticks where you can microwave them actually in a microwave safe bowl, and I melt the chocolate that way. Okay, if you don't want that, or you don't have that, if you have unsweetened cocoa, you can make 3 tablespoons of unsweetened cocoa. That's not the kind, you know, for hot drinks or anything like that. And put 1 tablespoon of your favorite oil, whatever oil you want to use, and that'll make you the 1 ounce. Then you need another one, so make another 3 tablespoons of your unsweetened cocoa to 1 tablespoon again of your favorite brand of oil, and it'll give you 2 ounces. So you're able to make it if you want, and I find it's cheaper for me to use my unsweetened cocoa and my favorite oil to make my unsweetened chocolate. But anyway, as we said, there's 3 different ways that you can do it. The one that's already melted for you in pouches, or melted that comes in a bar, like looks like a candy bar, or make your own as I did with just my unsweetened cocoa and my favorite oil, okay? So I used, in other words, 6 tablespoons of unsweetened cocoa, and I put 2 tablespoons of my favorite oil, and that's what I like to do. And it comes out really excellent. It smells so good, and it's so shiny unsweetened chocolate. Of course, this isn't the chocolate that you want to start trying and eating, because it has no sugar in it, so it's very bitter. I laugh because I think we've all done that when we were kids. If our mother or whomever was baking with, and you were baking with, you would lick the spoon and find out that it wasn't sweet chocolate. You tasted unsweetened, and it doesn't taste good, to say the least. Okay, and now I'm just going to cream this. Spend some time on bringing it together, 2 to 3 minutes. But again, warn you about the sound. Okay, let's talk about dry ingredients now. And I wanted to find my little whisk, and unfortunately, well, there it is. Forgot to pull it out. Let's start with talking about what flour you're going to need. You need 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. In that 1.5 cups, you're going to put 1 teaspoon of baking powder. That's 1 teaspoon. And I'm just going to stir that in. Okay, you can use a spoon or a fork if you want. The next thing that you're going to be putting in is 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And I'm just going to give that a stir. Now, the hardest thing about this recipe is the next step. And you're probably going to say, well, geez, give me a break. But what you want to do is take 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. Baking soda. We put our powder in already. This is the soda. I put it in a little dish like this. Pull it all together. And I know this is going to probably sound confusing, but you only want 1/16 of a teaspoon. So I take that, and then you don't have to be exact, but I put a cross in it, so I have a quarter. You see there's 4 quarters. And then all I'm using is that 1/4. And that's a 1/16. Now, some of you might say, oh my gosh, give me a break. That's not worth it. Or I'm going to put in a little extra. Well, you can do that. But I find by following this recipe, you really get the greatest results. So it doesn't need a lot of baking soda, but it just needs that 1/16 of a teaspoon. Okay? So I've got that in there. Gave it a stir, and now we're going to just start blending the dry with the wet. And we'll do it on low so that the flour doesn't go all over the kitchen and me. And then just beat it till it starts to come into a cookie ball. And I'll show you what that looks like. The next thing that you're going to need is a piece of wax paper or plastic wrap or whatever that you prefer. And as you saw, I didn't have to beat that very long at all. And it formed the cookie ball or cookie batter, if you'd rather. That would be maybe a better term. I don't know, but I'm just going to try to take a little of the excess off here and put that aside. And then I'm going to show you, and I just want to make sure that everything is been brought together. I usually beat it a little bit longer, but I don't like to beat it too long because I really think it makes the cookie dough dense or heavy or tough. And then just take your cookie dough, and you can see it right here, and I just basically just plop it on my paper here, my plastic wrap or wax paper. Okay, like that. I'm just gonna get the extra out. I hate to waste anything. Baking tends to be expensive with all the ingredients and everything. Plus you spend all that time working on it. Hate to waste it. And then I just wrap it up. You can actually form a nice ball if you want, but I didn't want to get it all over my hands. And then put it in the refrigerator and chill it anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, because it's going to be impossible for you to work with it otherwise. So I'm going to throw this in the refrigerator. And I have a cookie ball that's been in the refrigerator. This one you can see I did form it in a ball. It's nice and cold, okay? And I'm just going to cut a little piece off. Now you're going to need some flour on your countertop. I'll put that out of the way. You don't want a lot of flour, but you want to have enough that you can roll this out. Okay, so it doesn't stick. I also use a spatula to pick it up. And then with my little rolling pin, I'm just going to roll this out to about 1/4 of an inch. Now you can make them thinner if you want. You can see the cookie dough is quite delicate, so you do need a right amount of flour. Now, another thing that you'll probably say, oh, I wouldn't use that, or I haven't seen that done in quite a while, but I bake it on foil. Now, if you want to use your mats, if you want to use your parchment paper, that's fine too, but I tell you, I only make them with the foil. I really think it helps to add, for the cookie to have that crispness to it on the foil. So I know if I get a question or a comment, you know, you can try the parchment paper or the mats if you want. It, you know, it's really up to you. But I always use foil, and it just comes out really good. Okay. Now, what you want to do is you need I use about a 3-inch cutter, and I'm just using this one today. You can use a glass, you can use any shape cookie cutter that you want, but the 3 inches is the one that I tend to use. Okay. And let's see, I'm just going to cut a couple of them for you because I'm not going to bore you with it. And then pick it up with your spatula because they are quite delicate. And then place them on your tray about 1 to 2 inches apart because they are going to spread, and you want them to have room. Okay. Then take either your granulated sugar or your sugar colored crystals or whatever, and put sugar on top, because again, this is a chocolate sugar cookie. Now you're going to bake them at 375 degrees, and they will come up anywhere between 12 and 15 minutes. And you know, all our ovens set up so differently. So do watch your cookies, because you don't want them to burn. Now, if you make them thinner than 1/4 of an inch, they're going to come up a lot faster for you. So, you know, do watch them. Now, you can, and of course, use your scraps again and roll them together. But again, try not to use a lot of flour, because then the scraps of those cookies start to become tough or dense. And you really don't want this cookie to be tough. You really don't, okay? So, now I just want to clean this out of the way real quick, and I'm going to rinse my hands because I've been working with raw eggs. Because I'd like to show you the finished product. And this is how they turn out. They're a traditional round cookie with the sugar baked on the top. As I mentioned, it'll have a crisp top and a nice golden brown on the bottom. But when you break them open, they will have a chew to them. So they have a bit of a snap, but then it's a chewy cookie. They're just delicious. They're delicious warm, right out of the oven. They go great with ice cream a la mode. You can actually put, I sometimes put ice cream, whatever person's favorite ice cream, whether vanilla or chocolate or butter pecan or whatever kind of ice cream between them, and make nice little ice cream sandwiches. Oh, they're just delicious alone with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or that type of thing. But they are a great tasting old-fashioned chocolate sugar cookie. If you try this recipe and you like it, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment or if you have questions. But I just want to remind you to please solely watch me on YouTube, because that's the only place I put my videos. And I'm sorry to say I'm not alone on this, that's for sure. But I no longer put the recipes. I do get questions, well, why don't you put the recipe on anymore? Because you get tired of seeing people taking your work, pinning it, posting it, and nothing's more frustrating than when I see someone's written to me and I can't answer them back. But if you watch me on YouTube solely, that's the only place I put the videos. I'm going to get your question, I'm going to get your comment, and I will do my very best to answer in a timely fashion. So I want to thank you for watching Diane Lovetobake on YouTube. If you like this video, please ring the bell or give it a like. And if you're so inclined and you'd like to subscribe, I'd really appreciate that too. And once again, for my 21,000 subscribers, if you're happy to be watching this video, thank you again for subbing. So, stay well, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.